Thank you.
Thank you, Zulfiqar Ali, for such a adding such intellectual points to our conversation. Really appreciate you talked about so many things, and they were all important, in fact. And especially talked about our increasing need of energy. Would it be sufficient? Uh, I mean, in the next 5 to 10 years, like the projects and the energy that we are producing, even through the CPEC projects. So we have to be intelligently uh, calculating our needs, and then we have to make prior arrangements to meet those energy requirements for our country. Then you also talked about China energy. They have secured themselves in terms of energy, connecting their eastern China to the western China with the Xinjiang. And whenever they go into such arrangements, they are trying to forge a win-win cooperation, collaboration with countries. They're always looking at their own interest, and of course, they're also trying to solve the other, the partner countries' interest as well. That's one of the philosophy of uh, how China works. They believe in win-win cooperations. They believe in mutual growth, and that is what I know as someone who is working on the Chinese in sinology or the China studies. So you also mentioned about other countries also reaching out to China for their problems. And yes, though those countries uh, have very intelligently negotiated their projects with China, and that's how maybe they are better positioned than us. Like when we're talking about repaying the loans, and as the first speaker mentioned about we have a very difficult task to repay those loans. First, we have to repay to the IMF, and then we are also having problems with repaying the Chinese loans, though these are investments as well. But still, we are facing. So, I mean, it's not entirely. I won't be saying that it's China is dealing with 145 countries. So when you have something with you, when you have some intelligently thought about your problems, and you have thoroughly researched that how to go about it, and what is something, what are your resources, and how you would be negotiating, then you're better position. But the problems that we had been facing when nobody was trusting us, when nobody was coming to our rescue, and at that time China came to our rescue. So we must understand that fact, and we must be thankful to China because they I mean, they could have told us, like the Western countries, that you don't know whether you'll be surviving for the next year or next month, so how we can trust you. But they trusted us, and now we are trying to we have already to some extent solved our energy project problem, but in future we have to really calculate and intelligently do our research. Academia have to come up with the qualitative and quantitative research, that what and how to go about it, how we have to negotiate with them, what are our core competencies. I mean, we must be knowing that the roots of the CPEC, and where we need to have that where we're having the manufacturing competency, and what exactly we are getting out of the CPEC projects. So there, that needs some deliberation and debate and discussions in academia, with think tanks, with policymakers. Everyone should be on the same page. Okay, so now I would invite Mr. Azeem Khan into the conversation. Mr. Azeem Khan, if you are with us, I'll give the floor to you, please. Mr. Azeem Khan, are you hearing me? Okay. I have to see if he's with us.
I think if he is not here, we can go for the question answer session as it's around 5. So
Okay, we had a long session today. Uh, it was an interesting topic, and anything that is about China, it really fascinates me. Now I will open the floor for a question answer session, and you can raise your hand, you can unmute your mic, and you can point the question to whom you want to ask, and then we can have a intelligent conversation. So the floor is now open for question answer session. Anyone wants to go for a question, please, or a comment? If you have a comment as well,
I think
a
so. There's
short
a
comment.
question for me. Hassan Gul. The question for Mr. Shiraz. Yesterday, we were told by the panelists that death trap is a myth and not real. But since you, Mr. Shiraz, mentioned it today as something inevitable, can you please also elaborate how many years Pakistan needs to get out of the CPEC related death trap and make it to break even phase and any rough estimate? I think it's more important than to answer the question like how Pakistan will be in a position to address its own economic woes. That is going to be the major question because that is after answering those questions, and that is what CPEC is trying to contribute towards this economic uplift of Pakistani economic state so far. So in that context, it's obviously some of these loans are time bound. Some are expected to be returned in the next 7 years, 5 years. So in that context, I think how long it will take Pakistan, it is a difficult question to answer, but I'm sure that once CPAC corridor, the corridor itself becomes fully operational, it will be Pakistan will be in a better position to not only you can say address the debt it has to pay back to the IMF or bilateral debt such as the one we talked about between China and Pakistan. So it's too early to say. The main objective of my presentation was basically to highlight the work done so far, the things which are there in the pipeline, and obviously what kind of impacts or challenges and opportunities are there. So in that context, we can see that these initiatives have contributed towards Pakistan's overall economic woes, as we talked about, and every panelist have mentioned regarding the electricity shortages and the kind of damage being inflicted on the economy, especially the industry. So it has somehow given us that cushion or shoulder in order to push forward, because we saw in 2022, if I correctly remember, mentioned about how Pakistani economy was servicing somewhere around 6% of GDP, and that too in a backdrop of COVID-19. So we clearly have an opportunity at hand, and how we deal with that opportunity will remain a question. As mentioned by one of the panelists, we need to put our own house in order. So that is where the economic distribution will surrender its charge. So I think it's important to understand the overall Pakistani economic problems in that context. The economic problem in Pakistan is we are not export oriented economy. That is where the buck stops. So we are import oriented economy, and that too our domestic economic volume is largely invested in the real estate. 82% of Pakistani investment is in the real estate. So this is something which needs to be changed. Until you subsidize your export related industry, unless until you are able to establish a footprint in the international market as a provider of products than a receiver of products only, I think so this will remain a main hurdle. And that can, as I mentioned, China will go ahead with this project. Pakistan we may get rollovers over the you can say the loans, but at the end of the day, China knows the significance of the strategic corridor which Pakistan basically provides. And in that context, yes, Pakistan has a large volume of debt to address, but at the same time, I think the opportunity which is provided through this corridor has the potential to take this economy or make this economy in a way which can easily not only address these debt woes, but also put Pakistan on a path of a Asian tiger. So I know these are very ambitious terms and words, and ifs and buts are involved, but I think the only difference between opportunity and challenge is that opportunity once was a challenge. So we have to see it from that lens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shirasa, for our answer. Anyone else have a question or a comment? Okay. As per your own presentation, Pakistan. Supplementary question for Mr. Shiraz by Hassan Gul. As per our own presentation, Pakistan's GDP growth by 2030 will remain 2.5. So what potential you see in Pakistan's economy to become Asian tiger? I think it has already been touched upon by the speaker in his initial remarks and answer to the previous question. Still, if Mr. Shirasab, if would you like to add something?
Well, the first point is not according to my slides. Mean I have taken information from somewhere else. I was on my part, I was unable to put the reference. But anyhow, since I presented it, I think currently we are dealing with minus something, if I'm true. So I think that is a true depiction over the period of time. It is not just one factor. It's not just the investment coming in from the Chinese side. I think the important part is what kind of revenue are we generating within our own borders, and that is something which is definitely substantially affecting our progress. And that the digits shared over here concerning the GDP are not that encouraging. But at the same time, if we see where we are standing at in 2023, that raises huge questions. We were on a brink of bankruptcy, and a bailout was offered under special circumstances, as I mentioned in my presentation as well, to Pakistan. So in that context, yes, this is something which can alter. Pakistan is not a huge country. I was listening to another talk by Mayor Shimer, and he mentioned about two components of power. One is population, and the other one is wealth. And I think so. Population generates wealth if you have the right strategy and policies at place. So in that context, Pakistan has the population. Pakistan has 70% of its population below the age of 30. So that is where the change is. So if we talk about the potential possibility, yes, there is a potential positive. Yet what is represented in the in the slides is definitely it tries to mirror the existing trajectory. If we continue in the same trajectory with the same policy measures, I think so. This recorrection of economic direction will take place after 2030, and so by that time, these numbers are not absolute. Things may change, but keeping in mind the current situation, that is probably the outcome by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiraz. Okay, so do we have any other question, or should we?
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Okay,
I have a question
you have a question from whom?
from Mr. Shiraz.
Mr. Shiraz. Okay, please go ahead.
Sir, as you mentioned about the coal-based power projects, like the 60% of the energy projects, they are coal-based, and the coal which is produced in Pakistan, it is very low quality, and Pakistan has to import that required coal from Southeast Asian countries, as I have read. Please explain about this. And second, it is challenging or its effect on environment. It will also affect our climate change and will affect Pakistan. And it will also affect the economy of the country, because if we import so much of coal from the other country, it will definitely affect our foreign exchange reserves. And third thing, the world is shifting from non-renewable energy sources to renewable energy sources. Then why we are demanding coal-based power projects from China and not going towards hydro projects or solar or wind projects? Thank you, sir.
There you go, Shiraz.
Okay, I think the coal is probably the cheapest available alternative at the moment, because currently, if you talk about the shift which is taking place from oil towards coal, that is then again, even if we import it from some other countries, I think that is more cost effective. So in that sense, we see at the moment Pakistan or even China is trying to push the dependency on oil-related electricity production, and moving towards a more convenient or a more cheaper, you can say, source of energy, a product source that can produce electricity. So it is you have to choose between two evils, lesser evil or bigger evil, because oil not only affects the environment, but also badly, you can say, damages the foreign reserves, which Pakistan hardly has many. So in that relationship, when you have to decide between two potential possibilities, I think that is something where the maximum benefit lies. And yes, there are talks between China and Pakistan, especially when it comes to the Gwadar coal project. That was, if some way it can be, rather than coal, we can move on to some renewable energy resources, such as solar energy resources. But so far as Pakistan, it is binding for both Pakistan and China that they should not, install or establish any other future coal-related projects. And I think later on it will be, shifted from coal-related to renewable energy resources. So I think that is then again a difficult situation for Pakistan, because Pakistan also lagged heavily while building dams, and that Bhasha Dam and the Ami Dam and so on and so forth. These are recent developments. So I think that very much highlights the emergency initiative taken. To an extent, as I mentioned, energy was later on incorporated, keeping in mind the requirements of the member countries, such as Pakistan and the neighboring countries. And on top of that, it was then again a quick fix was required. So at that time, China was moving away from coal and pushing towards some other source of energy, and for them to give a quick fix to Pakistan, probably that was the only option that was available. But I think and both these countries claim that these projects were initiated in 2015, 2017, and not before the acclamation which was made during the Paris conference. So now in the future, after the completion of these coal projects, no further coal projects will be you can say sanctioned, to see how Pakistan can gradually shift from these fossil fuels to renewable energy resources. We also have to see the existing agreements between IPPs and Pakistan, because now it is becoming an issue. Scarcity is not an issue, but the price of electricity is an issue. So if you're able to buy electricity at higher you can say cost, and that is something which we have experienced recently. The kind of electricity bills which were sent to us were like mind-boggling, and that's where I see China, Pakistan agreed upon this quick fix, where China had advanced technology and know how and how efficiently to use coal as a source of energy. Yes, there are still questions as far as the climate is concerned, but yet on the other side, I think that has very much addressed our energy woes. One last point which I would a point or a question which I would like to add is like, let's start with energy sector. If there was no such thing as a CPEC energy projects, where would Pakistan have been at that point? So we have to decide between a hard rock and a deep blue sea. So we chose the hard rock. So that's how I see it. But in the future, I think both are signatories, both agree to the fact that because climate change is not something which will only affect Pakistan. Climate change will ultimately affect India, ultimately affect other regional countries and beyond. So yes, so far that is the remedy, but in the future, we will see more inclination towards renewable energy resources such as solar, nuclear, not counting it as a renewable, but nuclear, and for that matter, wind. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirasa, for a very thorough answer to the questions. I think we have already had a very lengthy, long conversation, very interesting, and we learned a lot from the panelist and our guest speaker, Mr. Shiraz Saab, had a very detailed explanation, and I would congratulate Mr. Shiraz Saab for his contribution to today's session. And hopefully,
thank you, sir. Thank you for the platform का भी शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा. It was just an क्या कहेंगे effort थी, because to be honest, I have been working on CPAC because I was can say associated with media, and in those days, 2013, it was something, the blue-eyed boy. CPAC was the blue-eyed boy at that time, as far as the Pakistani government and so on and so forth is concerned. But obviously, it took me some time to get these facts and figures, and I tried. Maybe next time I'll be more articulate in my execution of these facts, and probably raising more interesting questions from the audience as we see. One quick reply to this import coal, because from third it is expensive to logistically impossible to transport coal from third to Gwadar. That's why we are importing it. So that's all from my end. And it is more injurious to because it's a light gray coal, and it is not as mature, so it affects the climate more as compared to the imported coal. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Shamsab. Thank you for your appreciation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shirasa. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. Because once I asked my Chinese professor about those coal projects, and it's not only that they are happening in Pakistan. China was also doing also addressing their energy question through the coal project. So I asked them why China is engaging in coal when it's like, I mean, a lot of criticism coming. And she said that, see, the world, they have to understand China. We are 1.4 billion population country, and we have different problems, and we have different solutions to it. So it's not that world have to impose on us that you are not doing this and that. It was the organic process through which West has already gone through it when they were doing the industrialization, and they have gone through this process, and they have polluted the world more than any. The Western countries, when they have gone through the process of industrialization, they have also polluted the world through those, industries and manufacturing. And now, once they have done it, and now they are kind of all the time making criticism, and that China is polluting the world. So China is also paying the price, but that had to be started from somewhere. It started from some point for the West. It has started from somewhere for China, when West outsourced their manufacturing and made China the factory of the world. Now, these days, China is the factory of the world. And 10 years before, it was the dumping yard of the e-waste. China was the dumping yard of, the e-waste were transported from the West to China, and they were making some renewable products from it. So for the Pakistan, it was the same question: what options we had with us after 20 in 2008, or after the 2015. So we also had little options. So we had to choose from it, and we chose that, okay, we have this low consumption fuel, we have coal, and we can go with it, and we can somehow produce energy, manufacture there, and put it in the national grid. But now is the time when we are discussing these questions, when we are talking about it. And one of the purpose of this Youth Diplomacy Forum and this platform is that our youth must have intelligent analysis and intelligent questions. And then we can come up with some intelligent conversation, and share some policy matters, some analysis to the people, those who are dealing with, those who are the helm of affairs. We can tell them that this is the problem, and these are the facts coming from the academia, from these platforms, and let's intelligently forecast and do our analysis and come up with intelligent solutions. So with this, I would extend thanks to our the speaker, Mr. Mohammad Shiraz, our panelist, Usman, Zulfiqar, and Zamir Assadi, for their contribution to our conversation today. So thank you, all of you, all those who are listening to us. Thank you so much. And we would next Saturday and Sunday next week, we will come up with some of the other speakers with some of the interesting topics. So with this, thank you so much, and we conclude this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.